Hello my dear students, I welcome you all one more time on my YouTube channel Curious Physics. Today I am going to start the 6th chapter of your NCERT book, and the name of the chapter is electromagnetic induction. Okay, and one more reminder, the whole sole purpose of this particular lecture series is to just focus on your board exam. Mean to say that to get maximum marks in your board exams. Okay, so let's start electromagnetic induction. In this particular chapter we will discuss you can produce electric current with the help of magnetic field. In your chapter 4 we have studied that when a current passing through a loop, or you can say passing through a conductor, then magnetic field will produce, and that particular magnetic field we have studied the magnitude of magnetic field with the help of Biot-Savart law, or you can say with the help of Ampere-Circuitel law. In this chapter we will discuss basically you can say, which we have studied in chapter 4, the reverse of that particular concept we are going to study in this particular chapter. Mean to say that if electric current can produce a magnetic field, then magnetic field can also produce electric current. This is the basic idea of electromagnetic induction. Okay, and also in this particular chapter we will discuss the Faraday's law and Lenge's law. Okay, so let's start. This particular chapter started with some experiment. In first experiment we will see this is a magnet, this is a magnet, and magnet is moving toward a coil. Maybe magnet is moving toward this particular coil C. Okay, and when this particular magnet is moving along toward this particular coil, mean to say that magnetic field lines, number of magnetic field lines increase in the coil. Okay, so when this magnet is moving toward this particular coil, the galvanometer which is attached to this particular coil C, this particular galvanometer show a deflection. Mean to say that when there is a magnet is moving toward this particular coil, there is a current start flowing from this particular coil. Okay, mean to say that with the help of this magnet you can produce a current in this particular coil, and this type of current can be known as induced current. Okay, here one more thing, you can say that if there is a magnetic field, the magnetic field is changing in this particular coil. Magnetic field is not constant. With the help of movement of this magnet, the magnetic field is changing in the coil. If magnetic field is changing in the coil, mean to say that the change in magnetic field also responsible, or you can say responsible for the induced current. Responsible for induced current. Okay, this was the first experiment. Of Faraday and Henry. In next experiment you see that in coil C2, this particular coil C2 is connected to a battery. Mean to say that this battery is responsible for a current in this coil C2, and if any current is passing through a conductor or a coil, then a magnetic field will be produced. That particular value of magnetic field we can find with the help of Biot-Savart law, or you can say with the help of Ampere-Circuitel law, or you can say this kind of situation we have deal in chapter 4. For example, in case of solenoid, when there is a current in the coil, when there is a current in the loop, then magnetic field will produce. Okay, so this particular battery is responsible for, you can say, production of magnetic field, and when you move this particular coil C2 toward C1, the magnetic field change in C1, magnetic field change in C1, and that particular magnetic field change in magnetic field also responsible for induced current in coil C1, induced current in coil C1. This situation is same as this situation 1. In situation 1 there is a magnet, but in situation 2 there is a coil, but the impact is same. The magnet is also producing a magnetic field, and this particular coil C2 is also producing a magnetic field, and if there is a relative motion, between coil C1 and C2, and in case first there is a relative motion between coil and magnet, then there is a production of induced current. Are you able to understand my point or not? But in third experiment, there is the relative motion between magnet and a coil, and relative motion between two coils is not the basic condition, or you can say that is not the necessary condition for the production of induced current. Here you can say that if you tap the key, this particular in coil C2, you will see a small deflection in the galvanometer. If you remove the key, then there is also basically a small deflection in the coil C1. So relative motion is not the basic or the must condition for the production of induced current in coil C1. The basic condition, or you can say that in experiment 1 and 2, if you change the direction of the motion of the magnet in first case and change the direction of the coil in the second case, the direction of induced current will also change. In the first case, if you change the direction toward in this direction, then the induced current will be in this direction. Here same, if you change the direction of motion of coil in this direction, then the induced current will be also in this direction. Mean to say that what is changing in the coil C1, you have to change the magnetic field in coil C1. Okay, and that change in magnetic field is responsible for the production of, or you can say for the induced current, for the flow of induced current in coil C1. The relative motion is not the basic condition. The basic condition is change in magnetic field. So this particular relative motion is basically the reason behind the change in magnetic field in coil C1. So you have to just find a way to change your magnetic field to find the change of magnetic field in coil C1. Are you able to understand my point or not? This is the basic condition. Okay. So next is, in all the experiments what we have studied that the change in magnetic field in coil C1 is responsible for the induced current. Okay, are you able to getting my point or not? So next basic concept is magnetic flux. We have studied in chapter 1 the concept of electric flux. In same way we will study the concept of magnetic flux. Magnetic flux is nothing but the magnetic field passing through an area. Magnetic flux is denoted by phi, and it is equal to B A cos theta, or you can say that it is the dot product or scalar product of magnetic field and area. Okay, here we have also we have also discussed in chapter A, area is a vector quantity. You can consider area as a vector quantity. And what will be the direction of area vector? For open surface like a triangle, like a circle, the area vector can be perpendicular. Area vector is perpendicular to the surface. Always this area vector is perpendicular to the surface. Okay, are you able to getting my point or not? Perpendicular to the surface. Okay. For open surface, there can be two directions of area vector, which is depend on you how to choose a one direction of area vector. For example, if this is a, let's say this is a, you can say this is a any square, and A is the side of this particular square, then area vector, the value of area will be A square, but it is up to you to choose the direction of this area vector. Area vector is always perpendicular to the surface. Okay, so in this case it is up to you what direction will you choose as a area vector. It can be away from you or it can be towards you. Area vector is perpendicular to the surface. Okay, but if you choose this direction, or you can say if you choose a area vector away from you, in this case, then stick to this particular direction throughout the question. You cannot change the direction of area vector for a same question. For a one question, the direction of area vector will be same. You cannot change the direction in midway. Okay, so for open loop, or you can open surface, you have a choice, but in case of closed surface, it is always in outward direction. It is always in outward direction. So magnetic flux is nothing but it is basically the quantity of magnetic field inside an area. It is not, the basic concept is magnetic flux is nothing but it is the quantity of magnetic field inside an area. Are you able to understand my point or not? In this case, for example, this case, the area vector will be, let's say this is x-axis, this is y, then this is area vector can be minus a square k cap or a square k cap. It is up to you how to deal, how to choose a direction of area for an open surface. Okay, so this is magnetic flux. Magnetic flux is nothing, and now magnetic flux is scalar quantity. Units of magnetic flux are Tesla, meter square, or you can say Weber, also Weber. This is basically the magnetic flux. Are you able to understand my point or not? This is all about magnetic flux, or you from Weber you can also see in some places the units of magnetic field are Weber per meter square. Okay, so basically this is all about magnetic flux. Next is Faraday's law of induction. Faraday's law of induction basically related to find the quantity of, to find the magnitude of induced current if there is a change in magnetic flux. The basic statement of Faraday's law is the magnitude of the induced EMF in a circuit is equal to the time rate change of magnetic flux through the circuit. So basically this is induced EMF. Induced EMF is equal to minus d phi by dt. D phi by dt is nothing but the change of magnetic flux with respect to time. if there is n number of turns in a coil, then you can write n d phi by dt. It is induced, this is induced EMF. Induced EMF is nothing but, we have discussed in chapter 3, EMF is electromotive force, but it is not a force, it is basically the potential difference. It is nothing but potential difference. It is the potential difference, it's not a force. Okay, so change in magnetic field or change in magnetic flux is produces there a potential difference across the circuit. If this change in magnetic flux is responsible for a potential difference, then this potential difference is responsible for induced current. Let's say R is the resistance in the circuit, then induced current will be the value of induced current. The value of induced current will be potential according to Ohm's law. Let's say R is the resistance. This is the induced current. Okay, are you able to understand my point or not? The basic focus is on change in magnetic flux. So how can you change the magnetic flux? The basic formula of magnetic flux is BA cos theta. So magnetic flux can be changed. By changing B. You can change the value of B. In the above three experiments, basically you have changed the value of B by the relative motion of these two coils, and suddenly basically pressing the key or suddenly removing the key, you have basically changed the magnitude, or you can say value of B. You can also change the value of phi by changing the area. You can changing the area by you can say suppressing the particular coils, or increasing the radius of the coil. You can change the area, and you can also, if you change the angle theta continuously, then phi will be changed. These particular three parameters are responsible for changing the phi, or you can say magnetic flux. These parameters are responsible for changing the magnetic flux. Either it will be B or A, or you can say theta, the angle between B and A. Are you able to understand my point or not? Faraday's law is very, very important. But the next is, what is the meaning of this negative sign? Negative sign basically show the negative sign is nothing but negative sign show the direction of induced EMF or induced current. This minus sign is showing the direction of induced EMF or induced current, and this particular direction is easily given by Lenge's law, which we will discuss in next section. So for you, what will be the magnitude of EMF? The magnitude of EMF, or the potential difference of is directly proportional to d phi by dt, or you can say equal to d phi by dt. Okay, so magnitude is given by Faraday's law, and direction of induced EMF will be given by Lenge's law. Are you able to understand my point or not? That is all about Faraday's law. Here we will discuss some questions. Consider experiment 2. What was the experiment 2? Experiment 2, one coil was C1, second coil was C2, and C2 coil is responsible for producing a magnetic field, and this particular coil is moving toward and away from the coil C1, and there is a production of current due to this relative motion. That was the experiment. In the first question is, what would you do to obtain a large deflection in the galvanometer? If you want to find, then you can say you have to change B. If you increase the value of B, if you increase the value of magnetic field, then what will be, then there is a change in magnetic field will also increase. Then this magnetic field in, you can say, in a primary coil or the coil which is in motion, the magnetic field can be increased by increasing current. If you increase the current, then magnetic field is also increased. According to Biot-Savart law, magnetic field is mu naught I, means directly proportional to I. Okay, so for this you have to increase the value of potential difference, or you use the battery which can provide the high potential difference. Second, you can use the core of soft iron. Core of soft iron will increase the value of magnetic field, which we have studied in chapter 5 when we insert a particular conductor, or you can say ferromagnetism, under the concept of ferromagnetism, then it will increase the value of magnetic field. If you increase the relative motion, if there is a relative motion, there is a fast relative motion between the two coils, that mean to say that there is the d phi, or change in magnetic flux will increase. If change in magnetic flux will increase, then you can say galvanometer show more deflection, or you can say there will be induced current will be large. Induced current will be large. Are you able to understand my point or not? Next is, how would you demonstrate the presence of an induced current in the absence of a galvanometer? If you replace a galvanometer with the electric bulb, you can say if electric bulb is glowing, means that the induced current is passing through that particular circuit, and if electric bulb is not glowing, then there is no induced current. Okay. Next is example 6.2. A square loop of side 10 cm and resistance 0.5 ohm is placed vertically in east-west plane. Okay. A uniform magnetic field of 0.10 Tesla is set up across the plane in northeast direction. Okay. The loop is in east-west plane. Loop is, you can say, in this direction, and magnetic field is going in northeast direction, in this direction. Then what will be the angle? Angle will be 45 degree. The magnetic field is decreased to 0 in point. So phi initial magnetic flux is BA cos 45. Okay, BA cos 45. Value of B is nothing but 0.10. A is A is a square loop. In case of square loop, area is a side square. So you can say 10 into 10 raised to power minus 2 whole square. I have just converted this centimeter into meter, and this is A, and cos phi is cos 45 is 1 by root 2. Then the value will be 0.10 into 100 into 10 raised to power minus 4 divided by root 2, and value will be 10 raised to power you can say 10 raised to power minus 3 divided by root 2. This will be the value of initial magnetic flux. Then final magnetic flux is 0. Final magnetic flux is 0. Then change in magnetic flux is nothing but initial minus final minus 0 is equal to 10 raised to power minus 3 divided by root 2 Weber. Are you able to getting my point? Then induced EMF will be d phi by dt, 10 raised to power minus t root 2, and value of time is 0.7 into 0.7. Then this will come out to be 10 raised to power minus 3. I think this will come out to be, after solving, you will get 1 millivolt. 10 raised to power minus 3 volt. And next is find the magnitude of induced EMF and the current, and the current will be E by R. So 1 divided by 0.5, the resistance is 0.5, then you will get 2 milliampere. This is nothing but, where the focus is on change in magnetic flux. We have just find the value of initial and final, and the time taken for this change in magnetic flux. So according to Faraday's law, induced EMF is nothing but d phi by dt. This d phi is equal to initial minus final, phi initial minus phi final, and time is given, change in time is 0.7. We have just used this formula and find the answer. Okay, next is a circular coil of radius 10 cm, 500 turns and a resistance 2 ohm is placed with its plane perpendicular to the horizontal component of the Earth's magnetic field, perpendicular to the this is the way the loop, and you can say that magnetic field horizontal component, it is rotated about its vertical diameter, can rotate vertically. Estimate the magnitude of EMF and current induced in the coil, and this is the direction of the magnetic field. And so area vector initially outside, so initially angle is theta and finally angle is 180, because the loop can rotate vertically. Mean to say that if you have a loop in this direction, then it can rotate this direction. It will rotate, then the area vector is rotated. The rotation of area vector will be 180 degree. The rotation of area vector will be 180 degree. Are you able to understand my point? So phi I, initial magnetic flux is nothing but you can say initial magnetic flux is B, magnetic field is 3 into 10 raised to power minus 5 B A, and the value of the radius is pi r square, pi 10 into 10 raised to power minus 2 whole square, pi r square. This is the value of phi I, and the number of turns are 500. And cos 0, this is the initial magnetic flux. Final magnetic flux is nothing but 3 into 10 raised to power minus 5 pi 10 into 10 raised to power minus 2 pi r square into 500 into cos 180. Cos 180 and cos 180 is minus 1 and cos 0 is 1. So change in magnetic flux will come out to be, initial 3 into 10 raised to power minus 5 pi is common, 10 into 10 raised to power minus 2 is common, and 500 is also common. And now what will be, cos of 0 is 1, cos of minus plus 1 2. The value will be, change in magnetic flux will come out to be 500 into 6 pi into 10 raised to power minus 7. This is the value of change in magnetic flux. Then induced EMF will be, is nothing but 5 change in magnetic flux, 500 into 6 pi into 10 raised to power minus 7 divided by time, and time is given by, time is nothing but 0.25 seconds. We have just used the Faraday's law, and this will come out to be 3.8 into 10 raised to power minus 3 volt. And the is same as the previous question, the induced current will be E by R, and the 3.8 into 10 raised to power minus 3 divided by value of resistance is 2 ohm. So 2, so the value will be come out to be, the value will come out to be 1.9 into 10 raised to power minus 3 ampere. 1.9 into 10 raised to power minus 3 ampere. Are you able to understand my point or not? This is basically how you use the Faraday's law. The basic focus is on to find the change in magnetic flux, to find change in magnetic flux. So magnetic change in magnetic flux is phi initial minus phi final, and what is the value of phi initial? Ba cos theta. So if there is a change, then there will be either change in value of Ba or theta. In first case, there is a directly you can say there is change in magnetic flux maximum to 0 in a given time. In second case, the theta is changing. Second case, theta is changing from 0 to 180. That is responsible for change in magnetic flux. Are you able to getting this particular concept or not? All the chapters are interrelated. Just the focus should be on how to connect the chapters, how to connect the chapters. If you able to understand the concept of electric flux in first chapter, with the help of that we have solved the concept of Gauss law. So if you understand that concept at that particular chapter, so here you will face you can easily solve the questions related to magnetic flux. So that's why all the chapters are interrelated in physics. So the focus should be on how to connect all the chapters, because the concepts of electric field, magnetism and electricity are interconnected in real life, and as well as how to connect these particular concepts in this particular the scope of your syllabus. That will make things easy for you. Okay, so next is Lenge's law. What we have discussed above, how to find the magnitude of induced EMF. Okay, so here the focus, what will be the direction of induced current as well as induced EMF for potential difference. The value of Lenge's law, the concept of Lenge's law will give you the basic idea behind how to find the direction of current or induced EMF. The basic statement of Lenge's law is the polarity of induced EMF is such that it tends to produce a current which opposes the change in the magnetic flux that produced it. Mean to say that if there is an increase in magnetic flux, let's say we can do this with this particular experiments given in your book. Let's say example 1, experiment 1. In experiment 1, if this particular magnet is moving toward the coil C, then can you say that the magnetic flux, this magnet will increase the magnetic flux or not? This magnet will increase the magnetic flux. Then according to Lenge's law, the coil in the coil C, the induced current will produce in such a way, it will try to decrease the value of magnetic flux in the coil C. Are you able to understand my point or not? So if this particular magnet is increasing the magnetic flux in the loop C, then the current's direction, induced current, is in this direction. The induced current, the curl your fingers in the direction of current, and then you will feel the direction of magnetic field produced by the coil C. The magnetic field produced by coil C will oppose the effect of increasing magnetic flux. That's why here the direction of current is given in this direction. You can say in anti-clockwise, which will you can say oppose the effect of increasing magnetic flux. In second case, let's say if this magnet is moving away from, let's say magnet is moving away from this particular coil, then magnetic flux is increasing or decreasing? Magnetic flux is decreasing. Then this particular loop or coil try to produce a current try to induce a current in such a way that will oppose the effect of reduction in magnetic flux. In that case, if magnet is moving away from this particular coil, the current will flow in clockwise direction. That will produce a magnetic field in this direction. Mean to say that the current will produce in such a way that will oppose the change in magnetic flux. That will oppose the change in magnetic flux. Are you able to understand my point or not? This is basically the Lenge's law. Basic conceptual clarity should be there. The basic conceptual clarity should be there, but for that you have to use how to curl your fingers. We have discussed in chapter 4 how to curl your finger and move your finger to find the directions of magnetic field. In a loop, you have to curl your fingers in the direction of current, and the direction of thumb will give you the magnetic direction of magnetic field. Will give you the direction of magnetic field. Okay, are you able to understand my point or not? This is basically the Lenge's law. This is basically the Lenge's law. In this case, if this magnet is moving in the direction of this particular loop, then the current will produce in this direction. This is the direction of current, which will oppose the increase in magnetic flux. In second case, the magnetic flux is reducing or decreasing. Then the current is induced current is in this direction. That will oppose the change. Okay, and one more section is given in your book, that if this particular law, the Lenge's law, is following the concept of conservation of energy. The conservation of energy. Let's say the direction of current, to prove this point, let's say the direction of current is opposite to the direction which we have justified. Let's say in this case, let's say the direction of current, okay, to understand this concept, let's say the direction of current, if the actual direction of current will be anti-clockwise will produce the magnetic field in this direction. Mean to say that there is the north pole and south pole. Then if this magnet is try to come toward this loop, there will be actually the force of repulsion, because same poles repel each other and opposite attract each other. Okay, and in second case, if magnet is moving away, then S, here will be S and here will be north, then there will be force of attraction. So if you want to prove that the Lenge's law is accordance with the law of conservation of energy, then let's consider the direction of current is opposite to the actual direction of current. Then this particular current will produce the magnetic field in this direction. Then if this direction is the value of current, then magnetic field will be in this direction. Then there will be, this is south pole and this is north pole. Then there will be a force of attraction. If there is a force of attraction, then this particular magnet can attracted toward this loop without the help of any external force. Mean to say that you don't have to apply any external energy. To move this magnet toward this coil. Mean to say that if the current of the direction of current is clockwise direction, then it will create its own energy. Which is basically the violation of conservation of energy. If you can create energy, mean to say that if you can create a machine, you can create a perpetual machine which will that particular perpetual machine will not require any energy for its movement. Okay, so if this direction of current is not possible, are you able to understand my point or not? Are you able to understand my point or not? That's why the Lenge's law is accordance with the conservation of energy. We can discuss this concept here. We can also this particular, the whole theory is given in this part here, in this section, where the whole theory portion is given here. This particular, the conservation of energy, okay. So but the Lenge's law is accordance with the conservation of energy. Are you able to understand my concept or not? Okay, this is basically the definition which we have discussed. The person does work in moving the magnet. This energy is dissipated by a Joule heating effect. Mean to say that if you want to move a magnet toward this coil, in actual there is a force of repulsion, then you have to apply external force, then you have to apply external work, and that particular work will be dissipated in the form of heating when there is I current will flow. Because according to Joule's heating effect, heat is equal to I square RT, or we have discussed the concept of power in chapter 3, IVI or I square R. Are you able to understand the basic idea or not? Okay. Next is nothing but the questions related to the Lenge's law. These particular questions, the example 6.4 and next example 6.5 will boost your confidence if you are able to solve these questions. Boost your confidence to find the direction of induced current. Just to remember one point: the curl the finger of your hand in the direction of current, and the direction of thumb will give the direction of magnetic field. Okay, so first question in this particular example, the shows planar loops of different shapes moving out of or into a region of a magnetic field which is directed normally to the plane of paper. Mean to say that the magnetic field is away from you, and determine the direction of induced current. In first case, magnetic flux is increasing or decreasing. If this particular loop is moving toward this particular magnetic field, so magnetic flux is increasing or decreasing? Magnetic flux is increasing. If magnetic flux is increasing, then current will induced in such a way that will try to oppose the magnetic flux, increase in magnetic flux, and to oppose the magnetic flux, induced current will produce a magnetic field opposite to the magnetic field given to you. Okay, so if magnetic field is given to you away from you, then the induced current will produce a magnetic field towards you. So the direction of current will be in this direction, in anti-clockwise direction. The curl the finger in the direction of current, then the magnetic field, the direction of thumb will give you the magnetic field. Mean to say that the magnetic field is towards you. In second case, the magnetic flux is decreasing or increasing? Magnetic flux is decreasing. Then in this loop, the current is produced in such a way it will oppose this particular decreasing value of magnetic flux. So the magnetic field produced by induced current will be in the direction of given magnetic flux. So the current will be in clockwise direction. So curl the fingers of your hand and the thumb will give the direction of magnetic field. Same as in part 3. In the same part 3, the magnetic flux is decreasing. So the induced electric current will be in clockwise direction. Induced magnetic field, induced induced electric current will be in clockwise direction, which will produce magnetic field inside the paper, or mean to say that that particular induced current will decrease the value, oppose the decrease the value of magnetic flux. Are you able to understand my point or not? Next is example 6. A closed loop is held stationary in the magnetic field between the north and south poles of two permanent magnets held fixed. Can we hope to generate a current? No. If loop is stationary, magnets are not moving. If then mean to say that magnetic field is constant, and magnetic field is constant means flux is constant. If there is no change in magnetic flux, there will be no generation of induced EMF or induced current. Are you able to understand my point or not? In second point, a closed loop moves normal to the constant electric field between the plates of a large capacitor. Is a current induced in the loop when it is only inside? Simple question. In both the cases, induced EMF will be zero. Because induced EMF is done with the help of change in magnetic field, not by the change in electric field. Are you able to understand my point? Third is, a rectangular loop and a circular loop are moving out of a uniform magnetic field region to a field-free region with a constant velocity. In which loop do you expect the induced EMF to be constant? Induced EMF will be constant in a rectangular loop. Why? Because if the velocity is constant, then this area, the change in area will remain constant. If the change in area remain constant, then the change in magnetic flux will remain constant. Change in magnetic flux will remain constant. But here, let's say in initial case, this area will come out. In next step, this area will come out. So the change in area is constant or not? In second case, change in area is not constant. But in first case, the change in area is constant. That's why in a rectangular loop, you can expect that there will be a constant induced EMF, but in second case you cannot expect a constant induced EMF, because in second case the change in area with time is not constant in case of circle. Okay, and last part is D. Predict the polarity of the capacitor in the situation described by. You have to find the value of, if in both the cases the magnetic, in first case here simple, the polarity will be positive at A part, because the current will flow from A to B. Here is this particular polarity, negative polarity. Okay, because this will again oppose the increase in magnetic flux. Are you able to understand my point or not? Okay, so that's all about from my side in the first part of this particular chapter, electromagnetic induction. I hope you have understand all the concepts. So okay, so keep practicing, keep studying, and try to understand the concepts. Okay, because that will help you to increase your confidence when write the subjective questions. Okay, so that's all from my side. Take care, bye bye, God bless you, namaskar, take care, have a nice time.